My name's Sue Austin, and I'm at Unlimited specifically to come and see Jo Bannon's performance, one-to-one performance exposure. It's the whole thing, really, from being greeted down here. It feels like it, once I was taken away from here, it felt like it was all part of the experience. That may not be intended, but it was like going on a journey to this, and then I was waiting upstairs on level floor 4 because other people went in before me, so that added to the suspense. And they were saying, well, would my wheelchair go into the space? It's quite a narrow space, so that was again adding a bit of intrigue. And then you could say officially the event started then when I was shown through these doors and down a corridor and then through a black curtain and through another black curtain. And the thing was, as I went into the space, there was somebody shining a torch for me to see the seat to sit in, and in the light I could see the edge of a table. So I went into place in this darkened space. It's an incredibly silent, comforting black space. I wouldn't have necessarily described a black space like that, but it must have had a lot of drapery or something. And then the light comes on, and Jo shines a light on her hands and hands me some speakers, some earphones, so you know you have to put them in your ears, and then it goes dark. And Jo she's talking about being in her studio on a fine Tuesday afternoon, and she's going to discuss things. She's recording it now because she might not do it when she's with me face to face. And so she starts saying she's been thinking about being looked at. Oh no, she puts it in a different way, and people's responses to her. But then the process of looking, and then she's been thinking about how her eyes respond to the light, and she shows it's just a whole, it's so elegantly simple, it felt like a real privilege to be there. And there was something about the blackness, that complete blackness and stillness of the space, and you just hear this voice inside your head which feels very personal as well. And she's got a lovely soft voice, and she's going through this process of how she looks and talking about her eyes being affected by the light. And then she shines and saying that if people look at her, she'll actually look down, not as a form of compliance or submission, but as a way of taking control of how she's looked at, which I find really interesting, because of course that's what happens with creating the spectacle. It's manufacturing away or taking control of the mode of representation. But somehow there's something about it being a one-to-one performance that's extremely powerful. And then, so she builds up these layers. She talks about how she sees how her eyes are affected by the light, the fact that she thought she would go blind. So you're going on this tremendous emotional journey in your mind, and sort of also becoming aware of your eyes, but you're in the black, so you can't see with them. And it makes you become very visceral. Somehow, the way she's talking, it makes you very aware of your embodiment. And then at another point, she points a little light down and shows, she's talking about a photo of them finding a photo of her mother and her sister and her that was taken by some researchers who were researching her. She was involved in some kind of research project as she was growing up, and she shines a photo on this, and gradually the circle of light increases as she pulls the torch away. But it's fascinating. There's just something about looking at the photo with what she's saying about being looked at, and she's stepping, it was probably, they found it down the back of the fireplace, and it's probably a photo given to her mum because it wasn't of use because she's not standing in line. So there's this suggestion of being controlled and watched and looked at, but she's obviously breaking out of it. And then at the after you've been through all these stages, and I'm sure I've missed a few out, she then says, and we'll have this moment of looking at each other. So you look at each other. It's actually not very long, but it's because by then I was just so kind of just beaming at her because I'd been on such a journey just in those few minutes. I mean, it felt like a real privilege, to have that. It was like her inner voice that she'd recorded at another point in case she wouldn't have the strength to say it when face to face with you. And there was nothing that contentious, but you can imagine I'm just trying to think of the word I use for my practice when I push things through layers and layers and layers. So resolved. It's, beautifully, elegantly resolved, and it feels a privilege to be there. It was interesting because going in, I wasn't quite sure what to expect, and I was aware I'd actually I'd crossed my legs, and that was slightly comfortable. And then as I got more, then I realised, oh no, this is comfortable, this is familiar, this isn't threatening in any kind of way. It's embracing and life enhancing and warming in some kind of way. It's like when I talk very closely one-to-one with somebody, it's that kind of exchange. It feels like a privilege. So I would really love to do that kind of, be involved in that kind of performance again. So it was really, it's a totally different experience. Seeing somebody one-to-one, and then at the end when you look at each other as well, for whatever length of time it was. It's really great. Like, I've been into a really personal, I've had the privilege of taking this journey with somebody that was in some ways seemed quite short, but in another way could seem, so much was said in those few minutes that it'll stay with me for a long time. So I feel like something in my perception has changed through the experience, and particularly, that Jo has shared some part of her journey with me. But obviously, it absolutely resonated about taking control of how people look at you. As an artist working with disability, I found that very, very empowering, but to see something so close up and personal just made me realise there's so many other tools that we have at our disposal.